We are just about to start recording our review of the Game Changers movie, which came out on Netflix, and I am here with my wife. We are just going to give you our real raw reactions to what comes up. My wife has not seen this before, and so it should be very entertaining and give you a great idea about what this movie is all about and if this is something you want to watch. You need to see what really works for you, because we're all different. We all look different on the outside, we're all different on the inside, and we need completely different things in different proportions. So my invitation to you is just question everything, like try it. And I love that you're watching this review, because that probably means you're more of an open person. You're more open-minded. You are willing to learn and experiment, which is great, because a lot of people are very closed. So I really encourage you, try this. If you feel to, if it resonates with you, see how it works. And if this doesn't, do some more investigations. Hey everyone, this is Luke and Mia, and this is our review of the Game Changers movie. So this is my wife, and it's our first time watching the Game Changers documentary together. I've actually seen it once before. I took 6 people from our team to the premiere, and a lot of them were completely shocked. So we're just going to give you our real raw reactions as we go through the film, and share our thoughts and feelings. You ready?
Born ready.
Let's do this. This documentary follows the journey of a UFC fighter called James Wilks,
He's proper buff.
James Wilks from Leicester, England, is the ultimate fighter.
Yeah?
He's really hench.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think of James? You just got into the film. Like, what do you think of him from what you've seen so far?
He's very hench and very buff, and I'm excited to see how he is that way. And it was funny when they were talking, when his parents were talking about him, because it reminded me of you when he was a child.
Apparently he's quite a wild, cheeky child, so there's some pictures of him like with his bum out, like not like obviously not listening to the rules, right? And then you see him winning UFC title fights and things. So
because you had a similar thing, right? You were into MMA and boxing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Did you ever want to do it professionally?
No, it takes a lot of commitment. To be a professional fighter, you have to be really super committed, and I never was that.
Cool.
Future heavyweight champion and tore ligaments in both of my knees. Unable to teach or train for at least 6 months, I spent more than 1,000 hours studying peer-reviewed science on recovery and nutrition, looking for any advantage I could find to get back on track as quickly as possible. That's when I stumbled across a study about the Roman gladiators.
It's just talked about how they found bodies from gladiators from the Roman times, and now analysing their bone samples, they've been able to find that most of the gladiators predominantly ate plants, and this was what gave them their superior fighting abilities and able to recover faster and be stronger. What do you think about that?
I would have imagined that gladiators, I can just picture them have like massive feasts of like a whole pig on the table and like beef and all that kind of stuff. So the image I had before, I would have, if you'd asked me what do gladiators eat, that's what I would have visualized: a big feast of all the different animals and roast this and that. But now I'm like, so the have you seen the image of like a gladiator being fed grapes? So now that's what I see. I'm like, no wonder, no wonder, they live on grapes.
Nice. So James basically got injured, and he said he spent over 1,000 hours studying peer-reviewed science, and this is where he came up with the concept of the movie. And so he's found this peer-reviewed scientific journal about the gladiator diet. Super interesting, right?
I like the name, the gladiator diet.
Yeah, nice. Let's keep watching.
And there were current Olympians too. Morgan Mitchell is the 2-time Australian 400-meter champion. She also represented Australia at the 2016 Summer Olympics.
A lot of people had doubted me when I first became vegan, but my energy levels increased incredibly. And my iron, my B12, everything that people said would become deficient were amazing. I thought, I'm going to make sure I'm beating them all on the track.
It's just gone on to show that some of the world's top athletes for the last 100 years have been primarily plant-based. This is like world record holders, ultra marathon runner called Scott Jurek.
He's a beast.
An Australian champion runner. So what does that make you think? Like,
For me, I have heard non-stop that in order to be good at, even before exams and stuff, make sure you get your protein in, make sure you get your protein, especially like if you're going to the gym. And all we've heard is you need your protein. And with things like the keto diet and protein-based diets and eat more protein and fat, I can see why. I feel like it's just, they were saying it's just a marketing campaign gone right. Like it's kind of like one of those things where if it was a propaganda that you're only healthy if you eat Pizza Hut 3 times a day. It's a similar kind of, like the diamond industry, like the diamond scam, which was created by the De Beers. This is a campaign that literally changed the world, and now the whole world thinks that you need to eat protein to be healthy and fit, which is scary.
Yeah, particularly animal protein. That was they showed this marketing campaign from the 1800s.
I think it's called the Lieberg.
Yeah.
The Lieberg study.
Where they promoted eating meat to get strong and have good endurance. And that was never proven. It was just a theory.
And then they disproved it. And by the time they disproved it, the whole world was so bought into the idea. So I'm guessing, and the meat industry profited so much from it that it was like, hey, why even bother correcting it?
I grew up in Kentucky, so that's the land of casseroles and barbecue and meat. So when I transitioned over to an entirely plant-based diet, I wasn't sure if I was going to survive. And I actually became like a machine. I got up from being able to move about 300 pounds on the inverted leg sled to moving 585 pounds, 60 reps, times 5 sets.
I just couldn't believe that Dotsie, or anyone for that matter, could get enough protein from eating only plants.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions in sports nutrition is that we have to have animal protein, and in particular meat, to get big and strong and perform at a high level. That's just clearly not true. All that protein that you get when you eat a steak or a hamburger, where did it come from? It came from the plants that the cow ate.
I was surprised to learn that all protein originates in plants. Cows, pigs, and chickens, it turns out, are just the middlemen. In fact, the largest study to compare the nutrient intake of meat eaters with plant eaters showed that the average plant eater not only gets enough protein, but 70% more than they need. Even meat eaters like me get roughly half of their protein from plants.
You're looking quizzical.
I'm a bit confused because he just said even meat eaters like me are not getting enough protein. I thought he made this movie from the perspective of being a vegan.
So before he had his injury, he was a meat eater.
Okay.
Then he started doing all of the research and then found out about the plant-based diet.
Okay. Because here he's talking about it in first person in the present.
Yeah, so now he's saying he couldn't believe that when he went and spoke to these people, like they've just interviewed a nutritionalist from a big American football club who said that the idea you have
He's
to get...
a physician, so he's an actual doctor, not just a nutritionist.
Cool. So he said that the idea you have to get meat from animals is absurd because all that protein that animals get comes from plants anyway. What do you think about that?
It was interesting when he said that animals, like pigs, cows and chicken, are just the middlemen. And we think that we get protein from them, but really they get protein from the plants. So why not cut out the middleman and go straight to the source? Which would be the sun, but you know. Yeah, it's actually really good. I'm actually enjoying this.
Amazing.
Really good. Good job, husband. Good job.
Patrick is one of the strongest men on the planet, with multiple world records, including the front hold, the keg lift, and the log lift.
of one of the world's strongest men. He's so powerful, eating only plants. No meat, no milk, no eggs. Most of the training I do at home because it's just more practical. Someone asked me, how could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? And my answer was, have you ever seen an ox eating meat?
This part is cool because it shows a guy called Patrick, who's a Kiwi, one of the world's strongest men, and he's Kiwi. And we actually watched him on This Morning a few days ago with Piers Morgan and James Wilks. And this is before I'd seen the film. And it was just a really fun interview, and he is really strong. And when I saw him, I genuinely couldn't believe that one of the world's strongest physical men was vegan. Not even vegetarian, didn't chug down pints of milk for protein, and was fully vegan. That it's kind of inspiring because he lives in a world. What's inspiring is that he lives in a world where bodybuilders and heavyweight champions most eat meat. And there he is, and I can just imagine how much he's had to justify himself and to be the strongest man in the world and be vegan and be vocal about it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, he said he hasn't eaten any meat in 10 years.
Yeah.
And he is a world record holder in lots of different things. So he just completely smashes the whole belief that you have to be strong. You have to eat meat to be strong. And he said something really cool, which I love, and I've told loads of people it since I watched this movie the first time. He said someone asked him, how can you be as strong as an ox without eating meat? And he said, have you ever seen an ox eating meat? Because oxes mainly eat plants, right? And that's how they build their strength.
I was on this website a couple of days ago, and they said some of the biggest animals in the world, like elephants and hippos and stuff like that, how often do you see them eating meat? They're not meat eaters, they're herbivores. So some of the strongest creatures on the planet eat plants. Who are you to not eat plants?
If anyone watching as well, we are not scientists, we are not pretending to be scientists, we're just giving our views. So if we say anything non-scientific, then please forgive us, and you don't need to send us any hate mail. We're just sharing how we feel.
Hashtag don't hate, spread love.
But yeah, please do, if we say anything that is very untrue, please do comment, let us know so we can educate ourselves more, because we're always open to being educated more.
Feeding them 3 burrito breakfasts with a lot of protein. 2 of them have sources of animal-based protein and fat. One is from beef, one is from chicken. Third is a plant-based burrito which has beans in it, so the protein and the fat came from a plant-based source. Tomorrow we're going to feed them all bean burritos. We're looking at the impact of eating a different meal on the same people. All right, here's the beef. You're the fried chicken guy. You want to see your chicken? There it is.
Yeah, it's pretty gross to see.
Sources of animal-based protein and fat have a tremendous impact on endothelial function that lasts for 6 or 7 hours after you eat. So if you have bacon and eggs for breakfast, a hamburger for lunch, and a steak for dinner, this is going on all day long. Your blood is always cloudy, and the ability to operate at your best is always impaired.
The first time I saw this movie, something that blew me away was an experiment that they did with 3 top athletes, where first day they gave them a burrito with meat in. So 2 out of the 3 people had burritos with meat, 1 had a plant-based burrito. 2 hours later they take a blood sample. Then the next day they do the same test, but this time everybody has plant-based burritos. Then again 2 hours later they take a blood sample. What they saw is that just having 1 meal with no meat clears up your plasma, it gets rid of a lot of fat from the plasma in your blood. And it's insane that one meal of plant-based can do that. What's your thoughts when you just saw that?
So the guy who was given chicken, he was talking about how much he loves fried chicken. And before I chose to eat healthily and eat more plant-based, my weakness was always chicken wings, fried chicken wings. And after seeing that, there's no way I could have a chicken wing again, knowing what it was doing to my body and my blood. It scares me and it upsets me at the same time that people aren't taught this.
We actually met in a KFC, and steak used to be my favorite food. I used to love chicken wings, and it's been a journey. It's been a journey for both of us. This isn't the first movie like this that I've watched, and transitioning to a more plant-based diet has
even if it's just one meal a day, right? Even if you choose, if it's really hard for you to go the whole way, just one meal of plant-based instead of 3 meals of animal stuff can impact your life in a better way. Just one meal.
I've dropped 3.5 stone, so that's over 20 kgs since I stopped consuming animal products.
25 now.
Yeah, just over 3 years ago, and it's been really important to me. And I know your journey's been a little bit different. What do you want to tell people what your journey's been like?
My journey has been a lot of back and forth. It's been attempting to be vegetarian, which worked for a while, but I was still eating cheese and yogurts, and I always said I could never go without cheese. I can't go without cheese. I've learnt now. And then a couple of months ago, I made the decision that there was no way I could put dairy in my body, because I'd suffered from some hormonal issues like polycystic ovaries, and I did research that said that dairy is one of the worst things you can eat. Like absolutely one of the worst things you can put in your body if you've got this kind of hormonal stuff going on. And so I noticed when I reduced it, my hormones, everything changed. For me, I did it more than anything else. It was more for fertility and hormones. It's my main reason for changing to a plant-based diet was that, and I'm so glad I did for many reasons. Yeah.
Amazing. Let's keep watching.
Protein's important, but which package is your protein coming in is the better question to answer. The plant-based protein versus the animal protein, which package is going to help the body overcome inflammation and help the body to recover? In animal products, you're getting protein packaged with inflammatory molecules like Nu-5GC, endotoxins, and heme iron. When we consume animal products, it also changes the microbiome, the bacteria that live in our gut. And the bacterial species that have been shown to promote inflammation overgrow and begin to produce inflammatory mediators like TMAO.
The study that showed that a single hamburger impairs blood flow also showed that it can increase measures of inflammation by 70%. In the arteries, inflammation reduces blood flow. In muscles and joints, it can increase soreness and delay recovery.
In plant-based protein, you're getting protein that's packaged with antioxidants, phytochemicals, minerals, and vitamins that are going to reduce inflammation, optimize the microbiome, optimize blood supply, and optimize your body's performance.
The antioxidants Dr. Stoll was talking about are found almost entirely in plants, which have, on average, 64 times the antioxidant content of animal foods.
They were just talking all about how eating meat triggers inflammation in the body, whereas eating plants reduces inflammation in the body.
And makes it quicker, faster, and easier to recover after injury.
Yeah, and they had an NFL player who said that the injury rate in the NFL is 100% because it's quite dangerous, right? It's a lot of collisions and things. And that when he switched to having a fully plant-based diet, his recovery was faster, everything was faster.
His inflammation markers went down to pretty much 0.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
That's about right. I don't think about it because it's facts and I agree with it. I know I felt when I went plant-based that I used to have a lot of neck pain. That reduced a lot. Do you remember I used to wake up like in the morning and be like, oh, I can't move, like my neck's so stiff. I haven't really had as much since switching to a plant-based diet. So I can definitely feel inflammation in my body has reduced for a number of reasons, yeah.
Only a few people had ever hit 20 minutes. Even at the peak of my conditioning, the most I'd ever got was 8 minutes.
James, keep it going.
But on this day, I hit 10 minutes easily. Then I hit 20, 30.
You're at 45 minutes.
I thought, holy shit, I'm gonna do an hour. I went past the hour mark by about 1 minute and just thought, all right, that'll do.
This was one of my most interesting parts of the film because James Wilks goes into an MMA gym, and I used to do MMA, mixed martial arts, so you have these battle ropes and it's really hard. Like most
you know what, it doesn't actually look that hard.
It's constant with the rope.
What's the most you've done?
We'll get you on it. So most people can only do 10 minutes. Some people can do 20 minutes. Just from changing his diet, nothing else, no additional training, he did over 1 hour and broke the record in his gym.
There was another guy my dad's age who had also made a big change.
I ate a lot of meat. I ate my 10, 15 eggs a day. And, I had my 250 grams of protein a day because I weighed 250 pounds.
One and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But as I got older and as I started reading up on it, I recognized the fact that you really don't have to get your protein from meat or from animals, as far as that goes. So we started going more in a direction of a vegetarian kind of a diet. Now with doing it the right way, with the right spices, all of a sudden, I love it much more than the meat. And, the cholesterol went down to around 109. It was the lowest that it ever was in my entire life, at almost 69.
What we eat has a major impact on our health.
One of my biggest heroes growing up was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I loved him. And he's had such a crazy journey of being completely rejected, being told he could never make it, and just persevering, pushing through, becoming one of the top actors, highest paid actors ever, and obviously champion bodybuilder. And then he's on this, well, he was actually one of the main reasons I wanted to watch this movie the first time, because he's saying that now at 69 years old, he knows he doesn't have to eat animal products to get meat.
And at the age of 69, his cholesterol is the lowest it's ever been. At 69.
Yeah. And this is one of the guys who I looked up to, who I watched Pumping Iron. You watch you watch Arnold Schwarzenegger's movie and you see them consuming so much animal protein, and now he's realized that is completely not necessary. And I think that is one of the biggest takeaways for me from this whole movie. When people like that make a switch, I think this is really going to change the way people look at
100%.
bodybuilding.
100%. It said that eating a plant-based diet can reduce your chances of coronary heart disease by 55%. Shit. Wow.
Heart disease is one of the biggest killers in the world. And
it's crazy.
When I was into bodybuilding, the people I was learning from told me I had to have almost 200 grams of protein a day. I was eating sausages, bacon, eggs, ham, chicken, steak, like all these, like everything I possibly could to get my protein. I had maybe 6 meals a day with 35 grams of protein in. Mia used to laugh at me because before I'd go to bed, I would be eating packets of ham and drinking pints of milk.
Every night he'd have a packet of ham and a pint of milk.
Yeah, and a protein
and he'd
shake.
say, I didn't get enough proteins today.
And a protein shake. Now,
It's crazy.
what they're showing is that there's a lot of different compounds inside animal products, and it's the same in red meat or chicken or eggs or milk or
I
fish.
think he said it was heme-iron, isn't it?
Heme-iron's one of the things, yeah, that causes inflammation, creates this plaque in your arteries, and leads to heart disease. There's a lot of very fit athletes out there who do things like the keto diet, which is very similar to what I was doing, who are consuming such a big amount of animal products, and you think that you look healthy on the outside, but what do you look like on the inside?
Yeah.
It's quite scary. We all probably know someone who's had heart issues. My dad's had heart issues. I think if we can get the people that we love to just be more educated, because we're just not taught these things, then at least they can make better choices for themselves. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this review, is just so we could share with people more about this, get it out there to our friends, to our family, to people that we care about, and maybe they'll make a change, or maybe they'll decide that they're happy with the diet that they're on and that they're happy with the lifestyle that they've got. Yeah, absolutely. But I think if you don't have the education, if you're not aware, you're going to make the best choices that you can with what you do know.
Yep. Super.
Leading to the discovery that early humans ate mostly plants. And the reason for this is actually quite simple.
Humans do not have any specialized genetic, anatomical, or physiological adaptations to meat consumption. By contrast, we have many adaptations to plant consumption. We have longer digestive tracts than do carnivores, and this allows humans to digest plants and fibers that require longer processing time. We also lack the ability to produce our own vitamin C. Vitamin C is found in plants, so the fact that we cannot make our own indicates just how reliant upon plants we actually are.
This part of the documentary is all about how they have now studied the bones of our most ancient ancestors and found that they were almost all vegetarians. And then they studied the teeth of humans. They looked at our digestive system, so our intestines, our digestive tract is like 15 times longer than our bodies, whereas with a carnivore it's only 4 times the length of your body. How do you feel now you've seen that? What's your takeaways from it?
I'd heard the argument a lot that if we're not carnivores, then why do we have canines? And this totally dispelled that. We have those teeth because evolutionary, like gorillas, it was to intimidate other gorillas, to intimidate other primates, not to eat meat. Because if we are in the wild and we, for example, have a gazelle, we find a gazelle, we kill a gazelle, you're not going to, like a lion would, and swallow. There's no way our teeth are built to just chew into raw meat and swallow. We can't chew into flesh like that. We can't do it. Only carnivores can. So just that fact means that we're not carnivores.
And they showed that a lot of the misinformation around why we think our ancestors, cavemen, ate meat was because of the way that tools fossilized. So they saw those different tools and they assumed that they were made for carving flesh or something like that, but now they've gone back and they can actually find plant fossils. And apparently in the sites, in the digs, the archaeological digs where the cavemen are, there's a lot more plant-based fossils. And so humans, we're very good at storytelling, and history is not often accurate. It's somebody's story. History says his story. It's literally somebody's story, and we just make it up the best we can with the facts we have at the time. But similar to that marketing idea that we all need to eat meat, people can make up whatever story they want from the same information. So I think that was really fascinating.
It's brilliant.
Meat is what men eat.
There's no one that can relate to that better than I do, because I've lived in that world. Steak is for man. They showed us commercials, burgers, George Foreman with the grill.
Yeah.
And the big sandwiches and all that stuff.
Eat like a man and be full like a man.
This is great marketing by the meat industry.
Serious man food.
Selling that idea that real men eat meat.
You look like more of a man with a quarter-pounder in your hand.
But you got to understand, that's marketing. That's not based on reality.
Okay, I'm going to take...
Or is it just a marketing campaign?
So Arnold Schwarzenegger was just talking about how this marketing campaign that the meat industry do to target men, you know, steak is food for men. Like, this is massively what I thought. But
I remember you used to say, I just remember, you used to say real men eat steak and drink beer.
yeah, that was what I was told. 'Cause I worked in a corporate environment. You know, the managers would always go out. We'd go to steak houses and we'd have lots of beer, and this was like guy time, you know. You go to a barbecue, you cook up some big steaks, you have some cold beers. It's like guy time.
Oh, I feel sick.
This is just what it was. It's crazy when you realise you've just been sold this thing that is really not good for your health.
And you sold it from a very young age.
I remember specifically when I stopped being able to eat meat, I had this awakening experience. I started getting more connected with my food, and I went to one of the fanciest steak houses in London. I got this steak which is £35, it's about $50 steak, like really nice. Look, I put it bite in my mouth and I just felt sick, and since that day I've not been able to eat that because the energy of the food just always felt off to me. And now I watch a movie like this, and there's other movies like this that I've seen, and they explain to me like what I was feeling, but before that I was just so disconnected. I just didn't know. I was just doing what I was told by these men who I respected. Craziness. A really interesting part of this movie is a study they do on 3 athletes from college, and they strap a device to their penises that measures the strength of their erections, like how hard it is, and the duration of their erections that they have. Because I didn't know this. I always knew as a guy that we wake up in the morning with erections, like usually, but apparently we get them all the way through the night. And so they do an experiment. One night they have a meat-based meal before they go to bed. I think it's a burrito with meat. Okay. They love burritos in this movie for some reason. And then they measure the strength of their erections and how many minutes they have erections for during the night. The next night, they give them a plant-based burrito. So it's just the same meat that they had, but instead they swap it for a meat replacement. Measure the same thing. The results, all the guys had at least an 8% to 13% stronger erection just from having one plant-based meal. And they all had over 300% more minutes of erections. One of the guys had almost 500%. That's five times more.
For one of them, it was more than over an hour of an erection.
Yeah, more. Just from one plant-based meal. Like, that's not even being fully plant-based. That's just switching. That's just not eating meat before you go to bed.
3 collegiate athletes, but this time on a more specific part of the male anatomy.
So, here's a model of a penis.
Dr. Spitz is the lead delegate of urology for the American Medical Association. When it comes to the penis, he literally wrote the book.
Now, you're going to be putting this device on yourself. One ring goes on the base of the penis, and the other ring goes on at the tip of the penis, just behind the head of the penis. It knows how tight to squeeze to know when an erection is starting, because when it squeezes, it'll determine, oh, it's now of a larger circumference, something's happening. What we're going to look at is what effect the meal you have has on your erections that night. And you're going to be eating 2 different kinds of meals. For this study, on the first night, we gave the guys burritos that had meat, beef, chicken, pork,
but really high quality meats, grass-fed, organic. On the second night, we gave them very similar burritos, but we swapped out the animal portions for plant-based protein.
That's really good. I thought this was gonna be nasty, not gonna lie.
Like, that's insane. What did you think when you saw that?
I thought it's crazy that so many men think they're so macho taking girls out for steak, and little do they know that actually affects the quality of their erection that night when you get it in the sack. It's true. It's crazy.
It is, especially like you take a girl to a restaurant, right? You like order some nice steak or a nice meal or something like that, and then a lot of guys have erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
And it's not saying that,
or they come too quickly.
Yeah, or they don't get a fully hard erection. And it's not saying that eating meat is the cause of it, but if just not eating the meat can have that big of an impact one time, like, it's just crazy what it could do if you went fully plant-based.
I'm sure for a lot of men who go plant-based, their misses are very happy.
Yeah, it said in here that this is a very interesting study for anyone who has a penis or who likes penises. I thought that was great. This is my second time watching this movie, and I've just seen something again, and it's still triggering for me because they post the video, and underneath in the bottom left-hand corner they post the scientific study that it's from. And this part is all about the misconception or the idea that you need to eat meat to get testosterone, and that you can't build a strong body without eating meat. And also that soy products cause increases in estrogen levels, which is I really, really believe that. I avoid soy milk like so much. Soy ice cream, like I avoided it because I was terrified. The first time I watched this, it shifted something for me. Basically, soy products release something called phytoestrogens, which plug the estrogen receptors in your cells and actually stop real estrogen from getting in. So what I make that mean is that it actually reduces your estrogen levels. And then they show that just drinking 1 glass of milk increases the estrogen levels in an average man by 28%.
It's crazy.
And also eggs and chicken contain quite a lot of estrogen too. So I know hormones is a really big thing you have done a lot of research about. What do you feel after seeing this?
So when I did my research around hormones and what kind of things you should be eating for hormones, and the main thing I found on the internet was that if you have hormonal issues, you should eat lean protein. So white chicken, salmon, and eggs, low-fat milk. And for a while, I had chicken for lunch every day, eggs for breakfast every day. And it didn't make a single difference. It didn't. But then when I used to say that, I'm going to go plant-based, there was so much propaganda online about soy, avoiding soy-based products, don't have soy milk, don't have this. If you've got polycystic ovaries, it's bad for you, it's this, it's that. But then my condition wasn't improving. So doing what I was doing, which is what they told me to do, which is lean meats, eggs, and some veggies, it was not working. I didn't feel, my symptoms didn't decrease. My moods didn't get any better. My weight did not drop. And I think what it did was probably cause more inflammation in my body than I realized. And so even now, I don't really eat that much soy products just because I don't. But I've gotten rid of the fear of eating soy. My mum was a doctor and we had an interesting conversation. I think you were there when we were watching What the Health about soy. And she was like, yeah, but with your condition, you shouldn't be eating too much soy. And I said, first of all, I don't eat too much soy. And second, that's not fully true. Because people they must have talked about this, fighter estrogens, and someone must have been like, oh wow, you don't need that because without actually going really deep into what it means. And so I think do you eat fish, chicken, milk, eggs, or do you eat soy a couple of times a week? Like, I would choose soy over that.
One of the really important things when you're consuming any diet, you need to find what works for you.
Yeah.
Like, don't take what the people on this film say as the truth. Don't take what your doctor says as the truth. Like, use them as guidelines to go on your own exploration journey, and find someone who you trust who can give you that good guidance. But then you need to see what really works for you, because we're all different. We all look different on the outside. We're all different on the inside, and we need completely different things in different proportions. So my invitation to you is just question everything. Like, try it. And I love that you're watching this review, because that probably means you're more of an open person. You're more open-minded. You are willing to learn and experiment, which is great, because a lot of people are very closed. So I really encourage you, try this. If you feel to, if it resonates with you, see how it works. And if this doesn't, do some more investigations.
Wide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette.
For years, the tobacco industry said that their cigarettes did not cause cancer. And they trotted out their own paid researchers to come out with statements to confuse the issue.
Despite their efforts, cigarette ads were eventually banned from sports broadcasting.
Seeing that the smoking industry used to pay athletes to smoke and tell people that smoking was actually good for their health, and they published studies saying that smoking is good for your health. How do you feel about that?
Humans are very trusting people. And I think organizations like that have exploited how trusting people are. Just like one of the campaigns and the marketing campaigns that I love talking about is the diamond scam. And the diamond industry. They convinced pretty much every man that if you love your partner, you have to spend 3 months' salary on an engagement ring. And even now people talk about it like a diamonds are a girl's best friend. That is again from a campaign.
Yeah.
But this is dangerous. Like, this is people's lives. It's families. It's how can they... Just like now, smoking. Everyone knows it's bad for you. There's no one that's like, smoking, that's amazing for you. They replaced it with vaping. They replaced the smoking hype with vaping hype. And now we're seeing studies and evidence of how it's bad for you. People are dying from it. They're having God knows what from it. Similarly, I think because the meat and dairy industry is so huge, it's a little bit harder. And the evidence is coming up now, but then it's a lot harder because there's a lot of money being pumped into the dairy and meat industries by governments, by organizations. So, and I'm sure pretty much most of the money goes on advertising and campaign and marketing. And it's sad. It's sad that there's millions and billions of trusting people and their trust is being exploited.
What's in the bag? Big Mac? Play for it.
With a new generation of athletes, including me. But it wasn't long before the evidence against animal foods started stacking up as well.
Now that playbook is being used by the food industry.
She's from the National Cattlemen's Beef Association.
Because now it's just shown here, they pay pro athletes to eat meat exactly the same way that they did with cigarettes. People are actually paid to be shown eating McDonald's and other fast food things.
And it's not like it's just low money, it's ludicrous money. It's like millions and millions and millions for each.
But the shocking thing for me is, you know that the people that look up to these people are young, right? Young, impressionable people. And you know that these substances have been linked to causing illnesses, diseases. And yet you still want to make them eat them because you'll get money from it. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Other animals is just not to put them in your mouth. This whole fantasy that we need meat to get our protein, it's actually bullshit. I mean, look at a gorilla. A gorilla will fuck you up in 2 seconds. What does a gorilla eat? I just do the same things as these big grey things out here. We're trying to protect elephant and rhino. I just stick to plants.
What do you think about this idea that this ranger is talking about? That it's okay to eat some animals and others have to be protected.
Who decides that a rhino's life is more valuable than a chicken's life? We decide that. But does that make it true? Does that make it right? If it was in human terms and someone had to save between a henchman and a little person, who would you save? Would you save the bigger person, or would you save the average size person?
This is exactly what we did for a long time. If you were white and British, you were worth more than someone who was African. And you could literally be sold like we sell animals. You could be killed like we kill animals. Like, that's not that long ago that we changed the rules.
And I'm sure it's not going to be that long till we change the rules again.
One day, I think we will look back. My grandkids will be like, you used to kill and eat animals? Why? And it will be the same as how...
Cannibals, you guys are cannibals, like you guys are savage. That's what they're going to say.
The same as how children now look back and be like, women weren't allowed to vote? Like, women were second-class citizens? What do you even mean? Or you had slaves? Like, what even is that? And I know slavery still exists in different parts of the world. I think the more people wake up, the more we talk about this stuff that just seems ridiculous. And to me, this guy who is saving rhinos and then going home and eating cows, and he realized how hypocritical that was. I think that's mega. I think if you love animals, you love all animals.
With more than 70 billion animals consumed globally each year, growing animal feed requires vast amounts of land, making it one of the leading drivers of deforestation.
This part was talking about the environmental effects of eating meat, saying that it's one of the biggest causes of deforestation, one of the biggest causes of pollution. Like 25% of rivers don't reach the ocean anymore because we use that water to make the crops to feed animals, and that the animals in America produce 50 times more excrement than all the humans in America.
50 times more.
And that gets dumped into rivers and other places. And
you drink that water. It comes back to you.
Yeah.
It's just gross.
When you think about switching to a plant-based diet, how much did you think about the environmental effects of it? Did that play a part for you, or what?
No, mine was health, and then it was from a animal consciousness. It was mostly health, followed by not wanting to hurt animals. That was the main thing for me. I learned more about animal agriculture recently. It's very new for me. It's not something I really knew much when I chose this life. But now that I know about it, it's sickening. Like, how did I not know about it before? I was told, pollution, turn your lights off, don't, use your car all the time, blah, blah. How about you tell people not to eat so much meat?
Environment for me was a big part of why I switched. Health reasons for the animals, also for the environment. I think it's one of the biggest things we can do. 1 pound of beef is like the amount of water you need is thousands of liters to make this.
I think you said 1,400
this
liters.
tiny bit of beef. It's craziness. And so when I think about consuming products like that now, I just can't do it because I know it affects my health, it affects the animals, and it affects the environment. It's just not worth that for my pleasure.
Yeah.
I can't justify it. This part of the film showed firefighters in America, and they went on a 7-day challenge of eating whole food, plant-based diet for just 7 days. So before that, they got their tests of cholesterol and blood pressure and everything, and afterwards they just had crazy results.
T2, all right, which is elevated much higher than we want to be. Today, 176.
Wow, almost 100 points, huh?
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
On your blood pressure, you dropped 16 on your
really
systolic and 2 on your diastolic, so you're now 130 over 82 as opposed to 146 over 84. Fantastic. A little bump there.
Yeah.
Your cholesterol was 276. I mean, you know that that's super elevated, right?
Yeah, they were freaking out.
They were freaking out.
At the doctor's office.
You know what? They should be freaking out now because today was 169.
Whoa, now you're talking. 169.
You dropped 107 points, my man.
That's amazing.
Because according to this, heart disease and heart attacks are one of the top cause of deaths in firefighters.
76% of firefighter deaths in active line of duty is caused by heart disease.
In 7 days, the average weight loss was 6 pounds, and they all dropped so much their cholesterol levels, like it's insane.
Some by hundreds.
Yeah, exactly. And it was talking about how these things, we think they're genetic. We think, oh, my dad had a heart disease, so I'm going to have it. It's just not true. It's a food-based disease. What's your thoughts on it?
I come from a family where my granddad had a heart attack at 50. My grandfather from my father's side died of heart attack and stroke. Cancer, all of these illnesses are very... I thought that I was predisposed to it, so I was going to get diabetes by the time I'm in my 30s, because that's what pretty much everyone in my family had, and still does, and it scared me. And I used to say to you, like, I don't want to be like them. I don't want to get diabetes. I don't want to get a heart attack. But then I was watching another documentary with my mum, and it said that 10% of everything, your 10% of it is predisposition to illnesses, but 90% is food and lifestyle. So if your diet and lifestyle and everything is healthy, then you shouldn't be getting those illnesses.
You decrease your chances by a lot.
Yeah.
Everything is odds, right? So you do the best you can to give yourself the best
Obviously,
chances.
you can never 100%, prevent it, because anything can happen. But he said something interesting. He said that your genes isn't fate. That just because you have a family history or predisposition of heart attack or cancer or whatever, that's not a death sentence. You don't get to say, oh, you know what, my family did it to me, it runs in my family. That's devoiding yourself of all responsibility and pointing fingers, when really your health, your life is in your hands. It's not in the hands of your family. So you get to make a choice, and you get to decide how you want to live your life and how you want your health to look. Simple.
When I saw this movie for the first time and I saw this part, it really made me want to get my whole family to watch it. Like, it really made me want to get my whole family to make healthier choices, because selfishly, maybe, I don't want to be there when my family are dying of heart attacks. I don't want to be there when my family get diseases and they're bedridden and
don't want to see them in pain.
I want my family to be healthy, and I want them to to live happy lives. And if they can do that just by changing their diet and just by educating themselves and making healthier choices, I think
you don't have to make healthy choices every single time, but most of the time. We used to say that an 80-20 rule: if you live healthily 80% of the time, and 20% of the time there's a little bit of leeway.
It's called a transition diet. A lot of people do this when you are moving from one thing you've been doing for a long time to another. You do a transition, you phase it out slowly. If you try and go completely cold turkey, that doesn't work for a lot of people.
I'm one of those people. But then in the end, that's what I had to do because my ego kept coming up with excuses.
I think everything's about priorities. If your health is a priority and you're not healthy right now, you have to make a shift.
Scott Jurek is one of the world's most accomplished ultra-marathoners. His latest quest, the Appalachian Trail. It takes most hikers 5 to 7 months. Jurek did it in 46 days, 8 hours, and 7 minutes.
It's not about being the strongest and the biggest. It's really about what are you going to do with your strength and what are you going to do with the power that you have.
We've just finished watching the whole of the Game Changers movie. How are you feeling?
Kind of drained. It was a lot to take in. A lot of facts, a lot of different aspects of health and environment and animals, and it was just a lot to process, but it was really beautiful. I enjoyed it.
What would you say to anybody who's thinking about watching it, who's maybe curious? What would you say to them?
Watch it with an open mind and an open heart. You don't have to make any life decisions in that moment, and just little changes every day become big changes over time.
Beautiful. Since I watched this movie, I've really been recommending it to everybody, to my family, to my friends, to my employees, to everyone, my clients. Like, the more educated we are, the better the choices we can make. And that's really it. Like, just have a look at some of the more information.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we're asking. Let us know your thoughts, feelings, views on the Game Changers movie. I'm going to be doing more regular movie reviews as well. So if you're interested, make sure to subscribe.
And give movie suggestions as well.
Let us know what are your favourite documentaries that you've seen that have made a big impact that maybe we could review. I really think this is a great and easy way for us to make a big shift in this planet. It's just recommending great documentaries. There's so many great documentaries. Yeah, just start sharing them with your friends. Really, really simple. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Please do like this if you liked it. Share it with your friends. Let us know what you thought of the Game Changers movie and if you made any changes since watching it.